Hello, welcome to this week's podcast. I'm so glad you joined me today on the Focused Mindset podcast. This episode is going to be all about you cheering for yourself, that this year is coming to a close and all of that is involved with that. I know that we can get anxiety just thinking about relatives coming over and wrapping presents if you celebrate Christmas, and just the holiday season in general can sometimes be a time that moves so quickly that in a blink of an eye, it's done. I know for me, I sat down and looked at my calendar and I got stressed. I started feeling something bubbling up in me saying, look at all of these things on my calendar. How in the world is that going to get all done? And then we're starting a new year. We're launching into a new year. How am I going to wrap my mind around that? And you know what I did? I started listening to some of my favorite podcasts and saying, all right, I've got to start diving into how I'm going to plan for the new year. And I'm going to write down my goals. And hey, believe me, I am 100% a firm believer that we need to write down the things that we need to do in our life, and even the things that the values that we have and the things that we're going to consider important to us. But the problem that I was having is that I was doing it in somewhat of a frantic mode. Like, oh, along with everything else, I need to plan. I need to be in the moment before next year even happens. It was okay for a minute until it wasn't. Have you ever been in that situation where you're like, no, this is the direction I need to head? And then all of a sudden something tells you, screech, screech. And as I came to a screeching halt, I thought, why? That's what I should be doing. And it's because I forgot the important step that we all need to do. And that is pause. Pause to reflect upon the year, not with the things that didn't happen and that you still need to get done. The things that did happen, the things that happened well. In the midst of even the biggest storm, we can find a few things that went well and celebrate that if we choose to focus on it. I know that our focus and what we choose to put our energy into also comes back to us by us seeing new pathways towards the future. It's important that we all recognize the power of hope and how much hope drives our life. But when someone is more hopeful about their future, one of the biggest benefits is that they're able to see a pathway towards their next destination and then move towards that. So how in the world was I expecting to sit down and start jotting out and planning out the next year when I haven't paused to say what got me here? And it reminded me of some of the last pages in my journaling book, going through this book with a couple of different groups right now. And I'm reminded of how important it is right here and right now for us to embrace the hope that is within us and be grateful and thankful. In the last episode, we talked about an attitude of gratitude going into social situations. And it's absolutely game-changing. It's life-changing, really, when we go into a place and we're not worried about what's going to go wrong or someone's personality or hoping that somebody doesn't do something to trigger somebody else. But instead, we say, you know what, each of these people are going to be who they are, who they were meant to be, and who they always are. Some of them are going to do things I like. Others are going to do things I don't like. I'm not going to worry myself about that. I'm going to go into this place with an intention of how I want to spend my time, the kind of person I want to be, which is ultimately what we have control of. We talked about that a little bit last week. And then as I was reflecting about us intentionally thinking about the things that got us through this 12 months, the things that got us from January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, 12 full months of activities and things and ups and downs and fights and makings up and all of that. And here we sit and you made it. Yay! It's time to celebrate that. Give yourself a pause so you can have a renewed feeling of accomplishment within your heart, knowing that you can do hard things. You can get through challenges, but more than that, you can celebrate the successes, the gifts that was given to you. You know, a gift is really something that you're meant to give away, right? It's not something that you're meant to keep to yourself. So when you think about your gifts and your abilities and talents, and you focus on the joy of that and the gratitude that you've been given that gift, what's going to happen is you're going to want to give it away. It's going to come back to you as far as leveling you up as a human, because you're going to be like, I'm grateful that I learned this lesson this year, that I leveled up with, whether it be your communication skills or your skills as a parent or your skills at work. Each of those things. I'm going to take a minute to pause and recognize those things, and I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. And then we're going to be a cheerleader for ourselves. Let yourself know that you're there every step of the way, because I'm worried about sometimes the self-talk that happens, to be honest, that it's normal for us to look at the negative. It's the human condition. I don't necessarily judge myself for those things, but I want to hold myself accountable. And many times within this reflection, your mind might wander to the thing you should have done, could have done, would have done. Why didn't I? If only I would have handled this situation differently, maybe the outcome would be different. This is a line of thinking that we've got to catch ourselves. And even though there's a time and place for us to reflect in a manner of saying, what do I want to do differently? We first need to be in a place of 100% acceptance for who we are, and believing that every single step along the way is leading towards something. Not just looking backwards and saying, I can see now why all of this stuff happened. That's important. But then we're sitting in the here and now, and we're saying, I believe that every step that I've done is leading towards something amazing for me. I believe in that. I don't need to know exactly what that is. I don't need to know exactly how it's going to turn out to be able to know that this is leading towards a destination that is wonderful. That's a real belief in you. And that's a solution-focused belief, because really when we are being solution-focused, I'll tell you one of the keys of it is being able to say, in the future, when my best hope is actually occurring, what do I imagine is happening on that day? What's different about that day? What do I notice in that day? And isn't that, in a way, a practice of being able to kind of be the person that you're hoping that you want to be, that you intend on being, right? It's a way of tricking our mind, but it's hugely important, because as soon as we step into that future space of what we intend, and I see it happen all the time, we can see, like I talked about with the pathways, we can now see, oh, in order for that future destination to even be a reality, then you realize I need to be in a place of gratitude. I need to be in the moment, each moment. I need to, whatever that is. And you know what? It's different for every person. There is a part in this book where I talked about taking action. It's the third part of my GPS conversation navigation system that I talk about. You can use it in your conversations. You can use it in your journaling. You can use it in your thought process. And it will immediately put you on the circle, the path that leads to your personal best. Because life is we're always in a continuum, in a circle. We're never staying in one place. It's the reason why I say we're in a circle is because our mind can either loop a negative thought and then think it again and again and again, or we can choose to be in a loop that is constantly reinforcing what we need to be doing, what we want to be doing, what kind of person that we want to be. It's entirely up to us which one we're on. And near the end of this book, I talked about the mindset that really helped me in my life. And I just want to tell you a little bit about that. I remember I was coming up against a brick wall in my career. And as much as I loved what I was doing, I was stressed. And I just didn't know what else I could do to make things go well. As I sat there and I reflected on, I was dreading going to work. It was like I just called out to God for help. And I knew in that moment that I heard him say, you don't have to do it all. You just have to make the next right choice. And then just be in that moment. And when I did that and just ease off of all of the pressure of this has to happen and that has to happen, and just be in the moment, thinking about the next right choice, man, everything changed. And that is why I took time at the end of this book to help you be a cheerleader for yourself. And what I would like you to do as you close up 2024, moving on to 2025, is write some letters to yourself. I have space for that if you have the 30 Days to Higher Hopes journal. You can hop on Amazon and get that. But you can do it on any notebook paper where you address a letter to yourself and write about how you're going to be there for yourself in this next year. I have several prompts that you can use, and I'm going to read them right now, straight out of the book. Dear, insert your name. I promise to cheer you on each day. I promise to help you start fresh each day and remember your best hopes. And from there, you continue, you write the promises that you can make to yourself about how you can help yourself be true to what your hopes are for your future. Give yourself that as a gift. The next journaling prompt that you can do is, dear, and write it straight to you. I realize your struggles. You continue to move forward every day, and I will always support you. I love that prompt. Realize, yes, there were struggles. Not going to deny it, but I'll continue to support you. You might have the support of many around you. You might have the support of nobody, but you have a big job to do ahead of you. Have you acknowledged that you're supporting yourself? Have you acknowledged that you're there for you? It almost sounds weird saying it, but it's crazy important that we're not our own enemy. A long time ago, we were going through the garage, my husband and I, and we were cleaning things up, and we came across a box that his mom gave him of some of his childhood stuff. And we're going through it, and I find these old report cards, and I'm like, man, nowadays it's very professional. This one was handwritten with the way they used to do it, grades everywhere. And here's the comments. And I'm like, oh, let's read the comments. My husband's, I think, second grade. And the teacher says, if only he would focus, he would do so much better. Rich is his own worst enemy. She wrote that in writing. I'm like, what teacher does this? If that happened today, that would be unheard of. To tell a parent in a report card that's going to stick with them that your child is their own worst enemy. I laugh about it every time I think about it, because I remember reading it and just like having to take a double take. Yeah, somebody wrote that. And my husband, we laugh to this day now. Sometimes it's like a running joke, like, oh, don't be your own worst enemy. But it's true, though. We all fall into being our own worst enemy when we don't practice these type of things. Write positive affirmations to yourself that not only things that you want to do, just that you're there for yourself, just kindness, just love. Here's another one. Dear, fill in your name. I understand what you've been through, and I'm here for you. Really. Let it sink in. And many times I've been to different workshops that talk about this concept. And a couple of times there's been a practice where they give us all letters. They have us put our address on them, and they send what we write to ourselves back to us a year later. Every time, I think there's but 2 or 3 times, it's something that some people do in these self-help workshops, but every time I'm surprised how much I'm surprised by my own words coming back at me. Things, affirmations, things I'm proud of. What are you proud of yourself? When you take a minute to write a letter to yourself and say, here's all the things I'm proud of. Here's all the things that I love about you. Here's all the things that you've endured, and I can't believe it. I'm in awe of you. When you're in the moment of writing, it can bring you to tears to have that kind of support coming from the person that, from yourself, that you take care of every day. And we all love ourselves, even though, we might say stupid things to our own self now and then. We do love ourselves, but we don't take the time to do something like that or even think of it. I remember sitting in one of these workshops and looking around at these teachers and educators, teary-eyed, just writing. I don't know what they felt like when that letter came in the mail. I know when mine came in the mail and I read it, it didn't matter that I knew what it was. The words still hit me. You can write these letters to yourself with the prompts I just gave you, and then seal them up, open them in 12 months, put them in a special spot, even choose to, make one for each month and then open it up. Whatever we need to do to be there for ourselves, now is the time to do it. Make a list of the things that you've done well this month, this year, and then choose to celebrate it. If you take a moment to do that, your belief in the future will be unbelievably stronger. It's just too often that we skip steps. We want to get to the point. We want people to, stop giving me the fluff. Some of these Christmas movies that are out right now, the Hallmark movies, I try to get into them, but sometimes they just take so long to get to the point. And you're like, I know these two are going to end up getting together. How's it going to happen? Just let's get there. We can't rush things in our own life. They're going to happen in their own time. What we can do is just not give up and keep taking steps forward, one step at a time, doing the next right choice and the next right choice, and making the choice to believe in the future that is meant for us, believe in that place. Therefore, we want to take steps forward. Therefore, we want to inch away. It's just bit by bit. It's just the very next step. It's not everything. It's not everything. Now, there was a time when I wrote a very grandiose goal of being on the TED stage, right? That goal I wrote down, and it was big, but that was something that I had written in a journal years previously. And there was, my podcast had already gone. There were little chunks of things that I was doing that I felt convicted to write down something big and huge and make it happen. And at the end of 2023, when it happened, I was blown away. You guys know I was blown away, but also not surprised at the same time. So when you are getting ready to write down some things you want to accomplish, sometimes you don't need to say that every single thing, this is what I want to accomplish. The anxiety that just gives me thinking about that. What we need to do is reflect upon what went well and then what we want to build on. That's when our true values, our true purpose begins to surface automatically, because we're keeping it at a very real place for us. I want to do this much better with my teenager, I'll tell you that. I would say that probably the anxiety that comes out the most in my life right now is thinking about how she's winding up her high school career with her junior year and being a school counselor, you know that there's so many boxes that need to be checked. And I'm so guilty of letting the anxiety build up within me and then spill over to her. And I had a talk with her even this morning, and I just said, I want to work as a team with you. I want to. Her and I have totally different ways of looking at the world, and I'm okay with that. But geez, sometimes it's just something bubbles up in me, and I just want everything to get done. I want it all to get done right now. I don't know why that happens. I wish it didn't. I wish I could just, many times, I wish I could just take that trait away from me. Then I have to realize the things we've been given for a purpose. That same trait is the reason why I could keep plugging away at things and not give up. But it's not meant to be used for the bad. And I had to have that talk with her and say, I want to be working together as a team as you walk through these last years. And now is a time for me just to celebrate with her. And that's what I'm going to do. And so who is it in your life that you need to celebrate with, that you need to lift them up and say the words that they need to hear to be able to know that you've got their back? At the end of the day, you're always going to be proud of them when it comes to the challenges they face and all the same things we've just talked about. Be willing to step into that space going into the new year and try really hard to let go of that franticness. Yeah, it's going to happen. Hey, every single one of the things I have to get done that rolls through my mind, I know it's going to somehow get done. It's not like we're not going to have the gifts under the tree on Christmas morning. And people come over all of a sudden, everything will be in order. But somehow there will be a plan made for whatever we need, food, travel, all this. It will work out. So let's just get rid of the anxiety that comes with us getting ahead of ourselves and be in this present moment. And this present moment, you can say, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of the person I'm becoming, and I'm proud of the lessons that I've learned. And then take control of the things that you actually have control of, and that is the attitude that you bring, the person that you are, and the person that you become. You can't really change the person you were. You can change the person that you become. And I'm so grateful that we got this time together. I was so excited to have a moment where we just have you and I, because the next week we're going to have a guest and then another amazing guest. And I'm pretty sure we won't be talking just you and I until, the new year is long past, and I'll be looking at, hey, what are the new ventures that you want to take on in this new year, 2025. It's exciting. I really do like this time of year. I just need to let go of anxiety, hang on to the things that I need to. And as we do that together, it's going to be a wonderful season. All right. Now, last thing. I just made a huge announcement. Oh my goodness, what day is it? If you guys are not on my email list, it is time to get on it, because I'm going to be doing a really cool live with all the people that are in my 3-day conversation navigation challenge. If you've never gotten it, jump in it right now. There's a link in the show notes, or go to my website, cherkretz.com, and you can get in the 3-day conversation challenge. It basically goes through everything that I talked about in my TEDx, which is how to have GPS conversation navigation. And then you have 3 days of emails that teach you how to do that. But what's going to happen on December, the very end of December, before Christmas, I'm going to have a very special event, and I'm going to announce it. It might be a really quick podcast, so I know all this information gets to all of you, where we're going to dive in and talk. I'm going to answer questions. I'm going to talk about whatever is on your mind when the questions come your way, some questions that people have already submitted. And we're going to end this year with a celebration. It's a personal celebration of mine because it is the year anniversary of the TEDx, which I think is really, really cool. And that's why I want to do this live. It'll be on YouTube. It'll also be on Instagram. And I cannot wait to spend that time with you. So I'm going to check the details on that before I actually say it, but you can look in the show notes because I'll have it there. And then I'll do another quick announcement right before. if you want to be personally invited to be a part of the audience where you can ask me immediate questions, then you got to get into the 3-day challenge. It's going to be open for any of you to jump in and listen, but the people that have taken my 3-day challenge this year, it's been a full year, it's been out, they are going to be able to be a part of my personal audience. And then we'll make it into a podcast. So that will be so fun. I can't wait. It's going to be so fun. And that'll be aired probably, I don't know, mid-January or something when I redo it and kind of like put it out as a podcast. So it's a reason to jump in there. But for now, it's time for me to get going, pick up my daughter, actually, no, I'm going to a Christmas party. And then pick up my daughter and take her to volleyball. So it's time to get going. Until next time, live solution focused. Bye.